Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot stop the time. But just as it negatively influences our bodies, it gives mankind possibilities to create new technologies. But before I tell you something about our little vision of the future, allow me to introduce our team. My colleagues Miroslav Novotný, Tomáš Brestič, our programmers, and Jan Čeleďa and me, Marek Zouhar, graphic designers. Together we form Bubblesoft, and we work on a project called Nano-Remediers. Nano-Remediers is a sophisticated system of self-repairing microscopic robots that are implanted right into human body and where they integrate with it. They support our basic life functions and support our natural defenses. We use this quite unusual setting to give the player an opportunity to learn something more about our body or the illnesses that may worry us. From a microscopic point of view, the human body is quite enormous, and so the Nano-Remediers divide it into numerous sectors. The player takes on the role of an artificial intelligence which controls all robots. As we can see in these sectors, as the player advances through the levels, he faces different illnesses. The further he gets, the harder they get, and he also collects stars. We will talk about those a bit later. Most of his time, the player will be in a view of a bloodstream, where all the actions he does take place. As we would expect, in the bloodstream we can see red blood cells, which transport oxygen through our body, but we can see there also something else. We call those little things nanopoints. They are sent here from systems higher up in the bloodstream, and the player needs to collect them because they are used as a resource to place nanobots right into the bloodstream on the walls of the blood vessel. These robots are of several types. The number of the types can be quite intimidating from the beginning, but we have simplified it. As we can see, the specializations of the robots vary quite a bit. It can either use advanced technology to electrocute dangerous cells, or it can use precise lasers to locally raise temperature of an illness. It can also fire projectiles filled with a dose of mixture of antibiotics and antibiotics to destroy the threat. Some nanobots have also purely supportive uses, so the player can strategize. To simplify this system, we created an upgraded system so that, for example, the basic projectile tower can be upgraded into either a rapid-fire minigun version with high rate of fire, as I said, and unfortunately lower reach. But the player can also choose to build a sniper robot, which can, on long distances, destroy the threat. Right now we can see that in the blood vessel we also have the cells of an illness. This, for example, is a flu. We might know that the flu is a virus, but we might not know it. It is not needed to know this fact when you play our game, because most of the robots are not specialized to kill one or other type of a disease. But the knowledge can be precious if you want to complete the level very well. And so we implemented an encyclopedia right into the game. This is completely optional. We do not read a single word, but it can help us to face the threat. In the top of the screen, we can see that there was added another element. This is a quite big robot than the nanobots in the blood vessel, and this is Nano-Base. It is in each sector and it coordinates the robots right here. But when the fight gets tough, the player can use the nano base to use infusions, which are chemicals released into the bloodstream. Right into the bloodstream, they are quite potent, but they are only temporary. So you would be wise to use them in the most precious time during the level. These infusions can have different effects. For example, they can harm greatly a virus, or they can summon several white blood cells, so they can help us in the fight. The player has also one more possibility how to face the illness. And this possibility is pills, drugs, that the player can select in the beginning of the level, right before the start. These pills can have similar effects to those of the infusions, but they have more mild effect because they are active during the whole level. So we can strategize when we know that we will face a flu, a virus. We can use a pill that weakens all viruses. It can also, for example, slow down the heartbeat so that the flow of blood in the blood vessel is slower and we have more time to deal with the cells of the disease. We used as an engine Unity, and to model all levels, towers and diseases, we used Blender. We created textures in GIMP and Paint.net. We aim to deploy our game to as most platforms as possible, mainly Windows Phone, Android and iOS. When it comes to monetization, our game is completely free, but you can expect several advertisements so we can fund our next project. For the future, we have some plans, for example, adding new diseases or improving the robots and so on, adding new pills and infusions. We can also take a look on gameplay from our early alpha build. Though the game is still in development, we have an alpha build for you to try out with implementing all basic functions. As we can see, the player takes a look at the whole level, so he gets a feel for the shape of it. Although this is a PC build, we designed the controls to complement the touchpad, or touchscreen. So you can build, for example, robots by dragging the icons from the right into the bloodstream near the wall of the blood vessel. And when the indicator turns green, you can place the robot there. You need to not to forget to collect nano points, because they are your resource, as I said, to build more robots. We can see that the player now faces several types of diseases. When the fight gets tough, as I said, the player may use infusions, and I have a feel we will see that quite soon. We can select new towers, new robots, already built robots, by tapping on them, and then we have an option to either sell them or to upgrade them to a more powerful version. Right now we can see that the player used an infusion by tapping on the base and then selecting the icon with an injection. I thank you for your attention, and do you have any questions?